You're listening to Talk Star Wars, a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Check us out on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world. Hello there, and welcome back to Talk Star Wars, episode 155, a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network and the Star Wars podcast of Emotionally 14. I'm Rob.
I'm Carlos.
And I'm Andy.
Hello. Woo! We are three this evening. Carlos has, graced us. You've graced us with your presence many times, and we are always glad to have you. But making his Talk Star Wars debut from the Retro Inc. podcast, it is fellow Knight of the Commonwealth and fellow Commonwealth podcast megastar, Andy.
Hello, mate.
Hello.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Hello, Smitty. Hello.
Hello there, Carlos Governor. How you doing, mate?
Goodness me. Mary Poppins returns and doesn't know when to leave. How's everybody doing?
Everybody's great.
Great. Well, that's good. That's good to hear.
All good.
Unfortunately, Brad is not with us this evening. He is feeling under the weather.
Except Brad. Brad's not great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I probably should have prefaced with that, but, it is what it is. So, unfortunately, he is under the weather this week. Thankfully, you two wonderful gents have graced us with your presence to help me not have to do a solo show because, they're easy on the edits.
In the grand scheme of things, we are all under the weather.
I mean, deep, man.
Aren't we?
Yeah, you're not wrong. This is true. It is very much the case.
Yeah, I after saying it, I realized that it shouldn't have been verbalized, but that's okay. That's what we do.
That's okay. Yeah, ultimately, if there's one place where the thoughts that probably shouldn't have been expressed are expressed, it's emotionally14.com is, the home of such rambling shambles. But this is Talk Star Wars. This is the Star Wars specific podcast. We have some wonderful questions, which I'm hoping will prompt some interesting discussions. So first, we will go to our spoiler-free Resistance Roundup, courtesy of Knight of the Commonwealth Vesuvi. And the roundup reads, tonight's episode was called The First Order Occupation. Now, I feel like that's spoilers, personally, as an aside. But at the same time, if Lucasfilm feel it's fair, then I get it. Kaz is frustrated with how stormtroopers now have security patrols on the Colossus, even though their presence has put an end to pirate raids. So they're not seen by everyone as a threat, mostly just a nuisance. Word gets around that troops are trying to close in on the spy. Yeager warns Kaz to lie low and refrain from contacting the Resistance, which is foremost on Kaz's mind. And if I tell you any more, it might just spoil the meat of what transpires. Oh my. But I will say that we hear the name of the heavy-set Rhodian, it's Glem, and we get more than just a passing interaction with the station's janitor, Opipit. And we get another brief glimpse of a giant Rockner. There's a cool new flying creature, not to be confused with Speagulls, rather like a shrimp with wings, but I can't find them on Wikipedia just yet. I like the fact that a massive Rhodian is just called Glem. It's like a, really over-cynical nightclub bouncer. Just has that kind of monosyllabic percussive ring to it. So Vesuvi has included, in typical Vesuvi fashion, lots of Wikipedia links, which is always nice because obviously it's nice to be able to kind of quantify these things. These are some interesting creature designs, I shall say that. And then she wrote regarding episode 154. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Brad. And if Christopher Sean is listening, be still my beating heart. So, yeah, last week we mentioned that Christopher Sean had followed us on Twitter, and as far as I know, he still does. That's obviously a good sign. So, Talk Star Wars is holding fast, or climbing the charts, in Uganda, Kazakhstan, and South Korea? Good job. For those thinking Star Wars enthusiasts are a ghetto, indeed we are a world. I'd like to take this opportunity to briefly clarify what has been hilariously characterized rather often as me mansplaining to Brad. I do hope he knows I'm not oversimplifying and never condescending certain descriptions for his benefit, nor his vexation. I'm doing so for listeners who might be more casual fans, as opposed to canon junkies like us. Pats Brad on the head and puts the lollipop in his front pocket. And speaking of junkies, I should also elucidate that as twisted and bizarre as my messages often are, and we saw good evidence of that last week, didn't we, kids? They are not results of me being intoxicated nor drugged in any way. If I was still in college, the story might be different. My sense of humour just tends towards the peculiar. Thanks, John Waters. In fact, yeah, we got a couple of messages about, wow, I want what she's having.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should also like listeners to know that while making people smile or laugh has been a lifelong calling, both casually and professionally, I actually submitted a serious tale to Talk Star Wars, written while I was prostrate with grief, that has yet to be read in dulcet British accents, as it is approximately 45 minutes long. But who knows, someday you might hear my fable of Boots Pursuit, a.k.a. the little gonk droid that could. Tongue firmly planted in cheek, but which cheek? Oh my. Vesuvi, Knight of the Commonwealth. Well, Vesuvi, thank you very much for that. I'm sure, I don't want to speak for Brad, but I reckon I can probably guess that he probably doesn't take it personally. I'd like to believe. Now, whether or not he does, you'd have to ask him. And I plan to next time he's on. Our next message, so this is the one that I should have looked up the translation, the pronunciation for before we started. I meant to do that this morning and didn't. Never mind. This is from Andrew. So that was not the bit that I had to look up the pronunciation for, just to be clear. Andra? Andrew? Andy, what do you make of it?
I've been called all different names in my life, mate. Even down to A. So
okay.
Who knows? Who knows?
So Andrew, I'm going to go with Andrew. I'm kidding. Andrew writes, Rob and Brad, thanks for top-notch pods in recent weeks. That's easy for me to say. Congrats for topping the charts in countries across the globe. And to our friends in Kazakhstan, a phrase that means hello there in Kazakh. I meant to look up the pronunciation. Yeah. Kanememsi 6E. That's not what it is. I don't know. It's Cyrillic. I don't know. Okay? I'm butchering it. I know this. It's a droid. I'm sure it's a droid. It's a droid, right? It's a droid designation. It must be. Kanememsi 6E. I'm suitably shamefaced. I meant to look the pronunciation up and didn't have a chance today. Hello there, but it means hello there in Kazakh. So if you're listening in Kazakhstan and you're still with us, just whatever hello there was what was written. And if you could send in a pronunciation, that'd be very helpful in future. With recent updates to Battlefront 2, seeing the addition of Obi-Wan, Grievous, and Dooku to the game, this presents new opportunities to pit characters from across the Star Wars timeline against each other in Mortal Kombat. I also quite like the ability to do the same thing in the X-Wing Miniatures game, with Rebels, Empire, First Order, Resistance, Scum and Villainy, and soon, Republic and Separatists. All factions that can battle each other interchangeably, even the same faction fighting itself. This got me thinking, it would be great to hear your views on some classic who would win in a fight questions. If you're up for it, I'd love to hear you discuss who would be the victor in the following death matches that we would never see in canon. To flesh this out a bit, please assume ground-based combat. Both combatants are at full health with their standard weaponry starting approximately 20 feet apart. Think Street Fighter. And at equal and at equal altitude. No one has the high ground to begin with. Light cover is available. A sort of hangar bay environment. Retreat is not an option. All right, so we've got our ground rules set for our Mortal Kombat. So, first matchup is Kylo Ren, as of the end of The Last Jedi, versus Count Dooku in his Clone Wars Prime.
I'll go first.
All right.
Kylo Ren wins.
Okay.
Because Dooku in the Clone Wars actually leaves the fight with Yoda and escapes. And since there's no retreat as an option, Kylo Ren runs his blade right through him.
Okay. So you reckon he'd try and retreat, realize it's not an option, and then he'd be run through?
Well, no, I mean, if you're saying Dooku from the...
Yeah, but not Dooku from the Clone Wars versus Yoda. Dooku from the Clone Wars as like a, in his physical peak, as it were. Although I mean, he's probably in his 60s.
Easily, yeah.
So I don't know about Prime there.
No.
I don't know what he was like as a Jedi, so he might have been even better. It's hard to say, really.
It's tough, actually. It's a tough call because Kylo Ren was bested by a girl who had never held a lightsaber. So I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Not my Star Wars.
No, it's JJ's. This is his name's in the credits and everything. That's what happens.
Exactly. It's a production company.
So,
bad robot.
Andy, what do you make of it?
I'm going to go the other way, to be honest with you,
Kylo,
mate.
yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say Kylo every time.
All right.
You look at Dooku back then, he's an old man. He's not really fighting, is he? I think Ren at the end of The Last Jedi is kind of his coming of age, that movie, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That's
totally.
the point where the mask came off, he killed Snoke, he was ready. He's become what he wanted to become, and this is where we're going to see his story go from now. Whereas Dooku, like you say, he just run away at everything.
Yeah.
And I don't think Dooku, I've never seen him in my eyes as a fighter. I've always seen him more of a strategist, a general, that sort of ilk of standing. And I think Ren at the end of The Last Jedi, he's just out for blood. And I think if you've got him fighting this old man, I mean, look at Anakin fighting Dooku.
Yeah, in Revenge of the Sith. That's an older one as well.
I just see it as Ren would walk all over him at that point.
Okay, interesting. I think I'd broadly agree. The only thing I would kind of countenance with is Kylo at the end of Last Jedi is really angry and probably not in the best control of his emotions. Mm-hmm. And Dooku strikes me as somebody who can probably leverage that to maybe a tactical advantage.
Well, not only that, he's smart enough to know when it's time to go.
Yeah.
So he's in control of his faculties. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you.
Yeah,
I think it lasts
Kylo's
as long
very
as
unpredictable.
He is. It lasts as long as his electric wheelchair will last.
This is true. Yeah, and especially there's no high ground to begin with. But if there's any ramps involved in the hangar bay, then that kind of changes the game, changes the dynamic.
Sometimes
completely.
you get those little lips, don't you, as well, or a little groove you might get stuck in. So
just a little. All it takes is just like a little tiny bit of drainage around the outsides, and he's done. Like just a
bit of oil from one of the TIE fighters or something, and he's just wheel spinning.
Or R2's oil attack that he can suddenly do in Revenge of the Sith because reasons, right?
Well, look, Dooku in Revenge of the Sith actually does a freaking somersault.
True, yeah,
from the top of the balcony. So it's like he's capable. He's quite capable physically.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, whether
he's using the Force or not.
Yeah,
I think that was an accident, and he just styled it. I think he had a fall.
He's Buzz Lightyear. He Buzz Lightyeared it.
I want that to be
falling with style.
I so want that to be the case. Like you just hear him go, oh no, nailed it.
Because at the same time he pushes the button on his lightsaber, it also calls for help.
Yeah, this is it. He's got
one of those panic alarms.
Oh, he's got one of those medical alert lightsabers. Yeah.
What was that? Was it
medical
a Weird
alert
Al
plus
Yankovic?
morphine?
Yeah, this is it.
Weird Al Yankovic, a nuclear nurse with the Reagan.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, he's calling the nurse.
I really want to just. It's one of those things. I say it all the time. If I had the time, I would want to go and redub like that scene from Revenge of the Sith. No.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Totally nailed it. Let's fight and stuff. And then you'd have the. Do you remember there was a period where there was a running theme of a scene from a movie, but every time X happens, Y happens. Do you know what I mean? So there was like every time there was the one that I remember most vividly was B movie. Every time somebody says the word B, the movie halves in length. So like it speeds up to double speed.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, it's just quantum. It's just so fast because they've just said B so many bloody times. I saw one where it was getting ridiculous. It was the lightsaber fight from Revenge of the Sith from the very beginning of the movie where they first start fighting. And it was the one that I saw was Owen Wilson going, wow,
Wow.
Wow, 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 wow. And I just thought, is this going to get to the point where every time they clash lightsabers, the entire Yub Nub song plays for the whole duration, and then they just cascade over each other? It's just this cacophony of noise by the end of the scene. It's just the screaming of the infernal damnation because it's just 100 instances of overlaid Yub Nub songs at different lengths. It was madness, but that was, as an aside, that was just something that popped into my head. So what's our final answer for the obviously everybody can have different answers. I don't mean we have to have consensus. So we're not moving on until we've all agreed. This is not agree Star Wars, as Brad's fond of saying, just before he disagrees with me.
I'm saying
Ren? Carlos?
I think so too. I think so. Luke kind of quantifies it by saying that he's never seen power like that before. The strength of Kylo Ren.
Only once before, yeah.
I think his bloodthirst also makes him more dangerous, and Dooku not being able to retreat takes away one of his
tactics,
his options. So,
yeah.
And I think the thing you say about, bested by a girl that never held a lightsaber before, we don't know who or what Rey is yet.
No, of course.
And that's the.
And he just killed his father, and he got shot by a Wookiee, and he took a blow from a stormtrooper who had also never held a lightsaber. But well, that's not true. He held it.
Yeah,
he held it on Takodana.
This is true. Yeah, so. He did. He wielded it quite. Not incapably.
He did
just about enough. Just functionally. Just enough to not get killed. Which is,
But I mean, he has had combat training.
Exactly.
So it's not like.
And if you want a base level, doing it well enough to not get killed is pretty good. I think as a remedial level, it's quite good. I think that's a good one to aim for. With any skill.
Yeah,
with any skill, to be honest.
Yourself in the junk with a laser sword.
Exactly.
Is probably,
Yeah. And I try and look at that with any skill. I want to be able to cook to the level where I can't kill myself doing it. I want to be able to clean a room to the level where I won't kill myself doing it. I just want that level of security in everything I set my mind to. I want to be able to successfully edit a podcast in a way that will not shorten my life. I'm still working on that one.
That won't happen.
Yeah, I'm still working on it. I'm getting there. I think I agree with you guys. I think youth wins over experience in this one because, raw power and fury beats out over...
and retreat is not an option.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like you say, he that's one of his most kind of favorite ones from the playbook. So,
although knowing that retreat is not an option, maybe Dooku puts it into a different gear. We don't know.
Maybe
steps up.
Maybe he goes full Saruman the White and just.
But he is a Jedi, right? So he was a Jedi originally. So he probably, one of his base instincts is probably not to kill.
Maybe.
So
as long as it doesn't go on too long and he needs a nap and to take his meds.
This is true. Exactly. Yeah, it's like they break for Ovaltine midway through.
All right, so I think we're all.
I think there's consensus on that one. I say it wasn't something I was desperate to have before we moved on, but it's nice that we got there. Number 2, Han at the end of Solo versus Poe from The Force Awakens.
So I'll jump in first.
Go for it.
As I was reading this question, I thought, Han Solo. He hasn't murdered Greedo yet.
No,
but he murders Beckett at the end of Solo. So he shoots first. So as of Solo, or as of any era, I think Han is still Han. Mm-hmm. So I would say Han.
Okay.
Poe to me doesn't seem like he take the cheap shots, whereas we already know that Han does.
Maybe, yeah. It's hard to judge, isn't it? We don't know as much about Poe's backstory as Han's. We just know he comes from a family who had was it a force tree near their house? Something like that. But this one to me is like we haven't got to the whole lot yet, so obviously there are going to be some that potential to beat this, but this one feels like to me like the one that you'd be most hyped for in the build up, and then it would be the most disappointing fight when it came to, because it is just two blokes beating the crap out of each other. And I mean, some people get a kick out of that. It doesn't necessarily interest me personally. It's why I don't go in for boxing so much as pro wrestling, because boxing can be over in a minute and a half, whereas pro wrestling, you're going to get 4 hours. You just know, you just do. WrestleMania is going to be 4 hours. You know this. It's going to be, if anything, it's closer to 7 now. Whereas, like, you know, Mayweather versus Pacquiao might be over in 1 minute 16 seconds because one might just get a good shot in and knock the other one clean out cold.
Yeah, or like McGregor against Jose Aldo was 13 seconds.
Exactly. Or then, you know, something
you're
really...
paying $70 for pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I feel you're kind of, you know, within your rights to feel a bit cheated there, personally. But what do I know about boxing promotion, ultimately? But my thing with this is the one I kind of care the least about. I think of the two, I'd probably be inclined to lean towards Han, if only because we know the least about Poe's character. We know he likes there to be a plan. We know this. He'll go to great lengths to ensure there's a plan, including an up-to mutiny. So, you know, we know he likes it. We know he likes a good plan. So we know he's a kind of, whether he's a strategist or not is kind of remains to be seen, but he's certainly somebody who appreciates that planning is important. Whereas I don't necessarily think Han is that. Well, in fact, he says, you know, I don't think about these things until after I've done them, which is
exactly.
You know,
no, it's for me. It's clear that Poe, as soon as Han got an opportunity,
he's going to take him out.
He would take Poe out. Whereas Poe pulls a gun on Haldo, but says he goes by the rules of
that's true. He does follow the rules
of the Navy,
the rules of engagement.
Yeah. So he's like, you know, this is what's happening. You know, pulls the gun on them, but does it by the book.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's a fair point. Fair point. Well made. Yeah. Andy, what do you make?
It's what I do.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's why I like it when you come on.
Yeah,
Andy, go for it.
It's a point. It's a point very well made, because at first I was going to say Poe, but the whole shooting first thing has changed my opinion on that, because you're right. I think Poe's been trained because he wanted to be. Mm-hmm. Han was trained because it was a way out of getting out of everything else that he had to do, and he jumps from place to place.
It's necessity rather than
Poe. Yeah,
he's a survivor, right?
Me, yeah, Poe to me looks like he grew up in quite a stable place. I mean, we don't know, do we? But to me, it looks like he probably grew up, joined the resistance, and had the training and become a pilot. We don't know what it's like hand to hand or.
Poe looks like he grew up and he was loved.
Yeah. Han can take a beating. He grew up on the streets.
Yeah,
and
true.
He's going to go out there first for blood. I mean, we've seen him. He fights Chewie.
That's true. Yeah, he does.
He doesn't really fight him, but he manages to stay alive.
Wookiee.
Yeah. He manages to stay alive against a beast that will rip your arms off.
He gets doesn't he get spine busted or something by Chewie? Like Chewie wraps him around a metal pole. It's incredible. I'm just like, how is he still walking? Like, that would have knocked me out flat for days. And Han just gets back up. It's incredible.
I mean, if it was me fighting Poe, I couldn't punch Oscar Isaac in his pretty face.
Oh, I know, right? I watched Annihilation today, and oh man, Padme and Poe Dameron got married, and now my canon sense is weirded out.
It's proof, then, isn't it?
Very peculiar to me. Yeah, that was a weird. That was a weird film.
Kenobi.
Yeah, definitive. That was a weird film for me, because, like I say, I have this. It's not so much a problem generally, but sometimes I have trouble separating the actor from the character if I think of them as somebody iconic, and especially with Oscar Isaac, I don't really have any context for him in any other role yet until like Annihilation was
Ex Machina?
No, I haven't. No,
do yourself a favour, Rob.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'll make sure that is on my list. I think it's on I might have it on Apple TV actually, so I might make that one of my. Yeah. I might make that one.
That's where I fell in love with Oscar Isaac.
Yeah,
as an actor, was in that film.
Okay.
He was great in Star Wars, but Ex Machina is something else.
Okay, I'll give that a go. But say that watching him and Padme married, it's like, wow, this is a weird. It's like they read my fanfic.
It's weird, but it's pretty.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of the best looking on-screen pairings I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and the movie's not bad, actually. So, that was also nice. I'm going to go with Han. I don't know enough about Poe to kind of to make an informed decision. Really, we still don't know nearly enough. And I take your point about like the kind of the more stable upbringing. I mean, it's inarguable, right? It's, both his parents are kind of known to him for sure, I would say. So that already sets him on a good stead compared to Han. And also, I mean, there's got to be a level of, Poe in Force Awakens probably venerates Han a little bit because Han's a war, this kind of general military war hero. Han in Solo doesn't have any of that for Poe Dameron. He doesn't even know who he is. More likely to just take him out.
I just read ahead.
I see him going.
Yeah. Yep. It's okay. We'll get there. It's all right. We're getting there. We have a few to get to. I'm guessing it's number 6 that's probably done you in.
I think the numbering convention is even better.
That's
for the one
also
after.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll just mute myself for a second.
Okay,
Go ahead.
that's fine. So we're going to move on to number 3. Luke, Bespin, Empire Strikes Back versus Rey on Starkiller Base. Andy, while Carlos composes himself, why don't you break this down for us?
It's Luke, mate. It's Luke every time.
It has to be, doesn't it?
It has to be. I mean, like I say, we don't know who Rey is at this point, do we? She could be some child of the Force and the chosen one. But it's Luke Skywalker. And at that point in this story, he'd just been bested by Darth Vader, one of the strongest, most capable Sith in the galaxy.
Yep, the chosen one, lest we forget.
Gives it a damn good go, doesn't he?
He's not, he's not, he doesn't get humiliated. He gets beaten, but he doesn't get swept aside completely.
Well, it was, he's had training from...
He's had some instruction.
Not much training. Yeah. He's had instruction from Obi-Wan, and he's also had instruction from Yoda at this point.
He's had some instruction.
This is he's blown up the Death Star at this point, and he's faced down Darth Vader, and he went in ready for it.
Yeah.
He wasn't going in blind and scared.
No, indeed.
And at the end of Starkiller Base, this is the point where Rey, she bests Kylo Ren with a lightsaber, but he's just been shot in the abdomen with a bowcaster.
Yep.
And there's a lot of stuff going on at that moment.
Yes. Yeah, it's true.
Totally. Some people can be a bit put off with a world blowing up that they're standing on. So I think, Luke every time there.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Carlos?
I think it's Rey.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Break it down.
I think Vader is just toying with Luke. Where Kylo's not toying with Rey. Even if he is a little injured, I still think Rey at that point is stronger than Luke.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
That's just my perception of things, because Vader is just pretty much playing with Luke.
Right.
Because he eventually, what he wants to do, he doesn't want to fight him.
He wants to turn him.
He wants to turn him.
Yeah.
And the only reason why he cuts off his hand is because Luke got a shot in on the shoulder, and he's like, okay, enough with this. Yeah. Let's get rid of that lightsaber.
Yeah.
Gets rid of the lightsaber, and now we're going to talk.
Okay. I don't know. I take your point. Like, there is that element of, much like the stormtroopers being inaccurate in A New Hope is partly because they're tracking the Falcon, so they kind of want them to escape by the skin of their teeth. I do take your point that Vader is not going for the kill at any point in that duel. I mean, on the one hand, I say that. On the other hand, he is bombarding him with electronics and then throwing him out of a window. That seems like rough for a tenuous fight. It does seem a little bit over the top. It's like, well, I'm sure it's only he's only falling through it's only by the grace of him catching one of the railings that he's able to not fall completely down to the gas giant planet below. That feels like a risky gambit to me. To bombard him with, small white goods and then knock him out the window. Like hitting him with dishwashers and, vacuum cleaners and things like that, and then just sending him out the window to his potential death. It feels a bit much, Just a touch. Just seems a little bit extreme,
Mm-hmm.
So while I do take the point that he is not he's not going to lop his head off, obviously. But at the same time, I don't know, Luke's at least had instruction on, things like combat and how to compose himself and how to channel the Force. Rey is raw ability.
Yeah, and Luke verbalizes it as much in saying that he's never seen that raw power before.
Since Kylo, yeah. And
she hasn't even been trained yet.
No, it's true.
So I think, it's a toughie. I think we're looking at Luke in Return of the Jedi as opposed to what he was after leaving Dagobah. I still think Rey is stronger, and I think we're going to see that actually in the next installment of the Star Wars saga.
Maybe. I mean, entirely possible. Obviously, we don't know what the future holds, and she also has to carry. I mean, this is slightly cynical of me, but given the treatment they've given Finn in terms of his character development, I feel like she has to carry more of the story than Luke had to in terms of making the good guys look good.
Yeah, so far, yeah.
Yeah, because he hasn't really had particularly good service in that regard. And obviously I get the sense there's still a little bit of, what's the word? There's still a little bit of hesitation about whether Poe is kind of a good character or whether people are just a little bit miffed with him because of the whole mutiny thing. Even though it was pretty clear by the end of Last Jedi that you were kind of meant to be siding with him because Leia and Holdo both kind of, while acknowledging his faults, also acknowledge that he's a net good by kind of saying, like, I like him, me too. That kind of, that kind of discussion says to me that they're aiming that to be, to kind of get the audience on side with him, even though he's done things that have turned out to be at times counterproductive. He's going to have, I think, more of a role than they probably would have originally intended for him. So I think he's going to have to take some of the carry mantle with Billy D. I think that's between the two of them. They're going to have to share that load a bit. But I think that Rey is probably going to end up with a lot of the kind of pressure on her in the story, but pressure on her character in the overall narrative to kind of drive the story forward and to represent for the heroes. Because, like I say, Finn's been. For me, he's been diminished a bit by the fact that he was just kind of relegated to comedy sidekick on Planet 1%. For me, that's not the most effective use of his character. And I would have liked to see, I've banged on about this endlessly at the time, but I would have liked to see him and DJ's arc be resolved a bit more interestingly. Like, there was a really good discussion there about grey area and moral ambiguity, and they just kind of touched on it and then just threw it away. And I feel like there was a really good kind of story in that, and there was a good arc for Finn to take about trying to, maybe he's conflicted about, is he on the right side, or is there is it about sides, blah, 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 blah. And before he ends up kind of, he goes on a bit of a journey before he gets there. But I feel that's a harder one to hoe now because of the way he's been handled in Last Jedi.
I can't stand DJ.
No, I felt like I wanted to like him more than I did.
I really didn't like that character. I like Del Toro.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong. I think he's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
I didn't like the over-the-top comedy stutter.
There was a little much. Yeah,
too much. I think he tried to bring a nuance to the role that wasn't necessary. And I mean, we can sit there and talk about things that were wrong with The Last Jedi, and there was lots of great things. I'm not one of the haters, but that was one of the bits that for me, I preferred Canto Bight over Del Toro's character.
Wow. Okay.
So
damning indeed.
Yes.
But I digress. For me, we're going to end up if we end up seeing Rey as kind of this super powerful Jedi, it will be. I think, or that's how I feel, is it will be because of the faults of the storytelling of the sequel trilogy rather than because the character is more powerful in story, if that makes sense. Like the direct descendant of the Chosen One should be pretty capable in the Force. And obviously once hopefully we'll find out a bit more about Rey's lineage, and that will give us some context as to where she fits. But unless she's a Skywalker and the child of Luke and another Force-sensitive individual, I don't see how she can be anything other than to have less raw power overall, or less kind of potential than Luke. I don't see how she can. But she may turn out to be, let's say, I'm still of the mindset that I don't want her to be a Skywalker because it's too tidy and too easy. I want them to take a bit more of a leap with it. But at the same time, it is still a possibility because they could still kind of walk that back. Whether that happens or not, who's to say? So, final verdict on number 3 as we edge closest to number 6.
For me, it's Rey.
Okay.
But you guys both make excellent points.
Oh, yeah. I mean, likewise.
Same.
I've not felt any point like, oh, that's completely wrong. And nor would it, I wouldn't say it so bluntly if I did anyway, but I haven't felt that way. So that's nice.
I think hashing it out, this is actually harder than the Han versus Poe.
It's a very tricky one.
It is, yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
Andy? What was your verdict on
I'm going Luke.
I'm going to go Luke too, I think. But it's to be honest, it's tighter than the margin was when we first started talking about it. Like since then, it's kind of the margins have narrowed, but it's still Luke still edges it for me.
I think it's just favoritism. I can't get that out of my head.
Maybe, yeah. Number 4, Jango Fett, including Head from Attack of the Clones, versus Grievous, including Heart, Revenge of the Sith. I love the way that it implies as if I was going to go Jango Fett sans Head as like a fair fight. Like, no, this is a who would win in a fight, not who would smell the fastest. Like, who's going to start to stink earlier? Like the charred half lizard fella versus a bloke with his head lopped off. It's, obviously it's going to be. Also, not for nothing, Andrew, but in this email you said both combatants are at full health. That's somewhat defeated if he's then missing his head.
I think I'd like to make an assumption that he's trying to use comedy.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's the case. All right. Maybe I did trample. All right, fine. So
that said, it's Grievous all day, every day.
That's got to be Grievous, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Django's obviously got weaknesses for lightsabers, and Grievous has got 4 of them. Yeah. And also, I don't remember at any point any rumours that Jango Fett was going to be played by Gary Oldman. So
there you go.
Whereas, Grievous apparently was at some point going to be Gary Oldman's voice.
It's to do with Directors Guild, isn't it? I think, and the way they're part of some union, and he couldn't. It was a union contract that he couldn't actually do.
That sounds about right.
Something to do with working in the UK. Yeah, which was a shame because he was up for doing it, and I don't know if that would have made the role any better because that's one of my least favourite characters in Star Wars as well.
That's part of the reason why George actually directed all 3 movies was because of the union stuff.
Yeah. So it was indeed.
I thought it was ego. Sorry.
Probably
6 or 1.
Probably that.
6 or 1. Apparently he pulled out of the Star Wars movie because it was being made without agreement from members of the powerful Hollywood Thespian Union, the Screen Actors Guild. So it was not SAG approved. So he was not able to do the film, which is a shame because, like I say, it's
great actor.
I think he's a fantastic actor. He's one of those really great actors who can just melt into any part, and you're just like, wow, that's Gary Oldman.
Is he Dracula? Is he Jim Gordon?
Is he Churchill? Yeah.
What was I watching with my wife? And we was watching Harry Potter, and I was talking about Sirius, and then I mentioned about him in Fifth Element.
Yeah.
She was like,
is that the same
well,
one?
who's he?
Yeah.
And I was like, Zorg, he's Zorg. No, he's not. And then I started going through this whole back catalogue of things that Gary Oldman had been in. And she was like, that's the same guy.
Yep.
That's
it, exactly.
He is one of those. You look at Hannibal.
Yeah, totally.
He's rolling that.
Yeah,
that's right.
He's been referred to, I remember seeing a Reddit thread where somebody referred to him as the ultimate, it's that guy actor.
Yeah.
Like, he's that.
Look at him in Churchill.
Yeah, exactly. He just transforms into the
Darkest Hour, isn't it?
Yeah, Darkest Hour. It's the one he won the Academy Award for in the end, wasn't it? Which, not before time, because, I've loved him since The Professional.
I don't like that when that happens, unfortunately, because I don't think that's where he should have won it.
No, but I mean,
that was the DiCaprio. We better give him one because we haven't yet.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I've loved him since The Professional, so I'd have been quite happy to see him winning the Academy Award for that. But obviously, that would have been an unlikely pick, I think.
He's amazing. Like he's like Daniel Day-Lewis without the penchant for being a cobbler.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're both fantastic actors.
Yeah.
Just that Gary Oldman's prolific. Like he just does not stop working.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing.
And I think I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they're like backstage. I think they're probably, actors. So I don't know if that kind of comes with a certain amount of...
What's that talkie show that you guys have with the red background there? What's his name?
Graham Norton, you're going to say.
There you go. That guy.
Yeah.
I saw him on there, and he's so engaging.
Yes.
Don't you find? I mean, he looks like a nice guy.
Yep.
Either he's a nice guy or he's that good of an actor.
Yes.
One way or the other. He's amazing.
I tell you what, Carlos, if you want to see how talented he is and how he's the most talented one in the family, check out some EastEnders. Look for his sister in that.
Yeah.
Really?
I forget who she plays.
Big Mo.
Big Mo. Oh, yeah.
I've never heard of that, but I'll check it out.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Sorry.
She certainly... that's okay. I think she just... I certainly think it's fair to say she couldn't pull off Churchill like Gary Oldman could. No. I just don't think she'd do the same.
Needs less prosthetics, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that hairline is troubling, but... So we're all unanimous on that.
Yeah, I think this one's probably the easiest one to laugh at and move on.
Yeah, I think the only thing that might work in Django's favor is the ability to hire other people to take him out before the fight.
Yeah.
But that's kind of loopholing it. I don't want to do that because obviously we have a show on the network for that.
Yes.
All right, so we're unanimous. Grievous it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Vader, Rogue One, versus Mace Windu in his prime.
This one, I'm going to say Mace Windu. And the reason why I say this is because he bested Palpatine.
Yep.
And only got taken out because Anakin blindsided him.
Okay.
Now, Mace Windu, Form 9 with the Vapad or Vapad or whatever you want to call it, actually dips into the dark side and uses the dark side and uses the force of the person that he's combating against him. Now, the fact that you said Vader from Rogue One, where he's the most in control of the dark side and the most bloodthirsty we've ever seen Vader, then Mace would be able to use that against him.
Okay.
Following his form, using his lightsaber dueling form. So I would say that Mace Windu would best Darth Vader one-on-one.
Interesting. I get where you're coming from. My thing with that is, in a similar vein to how Vader was not trying to kill Luke, I think Palpatine probably didn't go out of his way to win against Windu because, I mean, let's be fair, he took out 3 pretty skilled Jedi like that.
But he used the trick.
He did, and they also sucked. So there's that. Like, they're just useless.
That's true too.
Useless.
They weren't expecting it. I mean, clearly. I think it was just. But he used that scream to trance them.
Oh, okay, interesting. I've not heard that said, but I quite like it.
Yeah, I just read or saw something alluding to that recently. Mm-hmm. I can't say where, I don't remember, but it might have retconned that whole scene, but I don't know. I mean, I do see how it could look like he's dogging it against Mace Windu just to try to bring Anakin closer to his side. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, he's down and he actually uses the Force lightning against Mace, and Mace he's able to use the Force and his lightsaber to keep the Force lightning at bay.
Yeah.
At that point, it's harder to say whether or not he's dogging it. He might have dogged it in the lightsaber duel itself, but at that point, I don't think he does anymore.
Interesting. I hadn't thought. I'd say it's tricky to know without kind of. I'd have to go back and read the novelization, because I think in the novelization maybe that's touched on, that there's how much of it is Palpatine actually dogging him, and how much is him like misjudging how powerful Mace Windu is.
I don't think it's detailed. No, actually.
Okay.
No, I don't believe it is. It's always been kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a tough question, because I mean, Vader is still he's still great, but Luke still. I mean, if Mace Windu against Luke, who wins that lightsaber duel? It's hard, man.
So you're saying Mace versus Luke now?
Mace, he kills him.
Mace versus Luke. It's not even like even Mace versus like even maybe Mace versus like Last Jedi Luke, after he's had all these years of honing his skills and stuff. But otherwise, it's no contest. He wipes the floor with him.
No contest.
Yeah,
he's one of the best duelists of.
Yeah, he invents Vapard's his own form, right? He invents it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
and he touches in that. That's why his lightsaber is purple, because it's a blue with a little bit of the red.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
I thought because that was just contractually that's what he wanted, but fair enough.
Yeah. But they retconned it that way.
Yeah. That's how they see it in canon terms.
So you come out with really informative answers here and just make me look stupid, because I was going to say Windu as long as he's had his big kahuna burger.
Now that's a tasty burger.
I Vader, Rogue One, Windu, Prime. Man.
It is tricky.
See, I think Vader at the end of Rogue One, there's some inconsistencies for me. There's the age-old joke that we've had since it came out about why didn't he just use the Force to take the disc off of the guy, right? Which is part of this argument, is that he was seeing so much rage at that moment that he wasn't in control of his faculties. He saw blood and he could make mistakes. He was just lucky that he was in an enclosed corridor with peons rather than trained Jedi.
He was not by far not the best at anything.
No.
Yeah.
He's not, be it Anakin, be it Vader, he's always making mistakes.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And Mace Windu's only mistake was trusting that Anakin would have cut his hand off.
It's funny, isn't it? They're like, if this turns out to be true, you'll have earned my trust. Let's hope you don't, spaff it up the wall by going in and then knocking my hand off, because that would really suck. It's like, I totally agree. Anyway, good luck with the whole Palpatine thing.
He says it repeatedly. I don't trust putting those two together about Anakin and Palpatine.
Yeah.
He says, I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi. Mm-hmm. He says all these things.
Oh, yeah, he's on it. Yeah,
no
totally.
one listens.
He is the best. And he just got blindsided.
Yeah. No, it's true.
I think he's saying this just because he's scared Samuel Jackson's going to come and slap you on for saying otherwise, which is why I'm going to go with Mace Windu as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But I think honestly, when it comes down to grassroots, I think you put the two of them together. Vader, he's hardcore there in that scene.
Yeah.
But that's rage. I think if you pitted him against Windu, he's a lot more agile. Mm-hmm. I think you're right, and a lot more skilled. I honestly think when it comes down to it, I think 1-to-1.
Do you know what? You've actually swung me completely, because I was just edging Vader at first, and now I've changed my mind. completely. Like, I'm totally with you. And actually, something that I didn't pick up on at first, which has kind of occurred to me while we've been talking, Mace Windu in his prime, which is no Sith obfuscation of the Force. That's him being able to draw on it fully. I don't know if there's many people who can beat him in general.
No.
At that point, he's pretty incredible.
Yeah, you see that, don't you? You see the council, and there is a couple of them there that I think if they started on me, I'd be quite capable. Apart from Yoda, who's deceiving. But I think if you're going to say in that room on that council who's the skilled fighter and warrior, I think it would be Windu out of everyone sitting in that room.
Yeah.
I think Obi-Wan actually qualifies him as the most powerful Jedi and Yoda as the better swordsman.
Really?
If I'm not mistaken. But just the fact that Obi-Wan could say that he's, or no, was it Anakin that says as powerful as Mr. Windu?
He was talking about Obi-Wan, isn't he? He's as wise as Yoda and as powerful as Windu, maybe?
I think so. Something about I don't know. Anyways, it's just that he's definitely.
Here we go.
I'm kind of happy that I should just sign off right now. I pulled you guys back to the purple side.
Yeah. Here we go. Here's the actual quote. Obi-Wan is a great mentor, as wise as Master Yoda and as powerful as Master Windu. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. I think we've got to another unanimous one.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So let's keep this kind of serious, considered thought train going. Rose Tycho versus 2 Jedi younglings. I like her chances better than Paige.
Is one of them Broom Boy?
That's the thing, isn't it? You don't know. I think younglings implies that these would be the older sort of Republic ones.
Are they the ones after Anakin's dispatched them?
Full health is very. It's in the rules.
Okay.
I would say I like Rose's chances better than Paige. Because, although she does have lightning fast reflexes because she can catch something even 10 minutes after it's dropped past her reach, which is pretty cool.
That bugs me.
That's just, you just, come on.
It's obviously not 10 minutes. I know this because it would be really boring in the cinema if that happened.
I went out and had a cigarette while I was waiting for her to catch it.
You know what would have been awesome? You know what, where Ryan really screwed up?
Okay.
Is as that button is coming down, they could have easily just had it falling and then stop.
Yeah.
And her reach out to grab it as if she's using the Force.
Oh, that could have been cool.
Oh,
to be honest,
as opposed to whoops.
Yeah, exactly.
And as opposed to Broom Boy, I think that would have probably made more of an impact.
Maybe, yeah.
Wouldn't it?
If you just see, it would be amazing if over the course of the movie you just saw everybody using the Force in some tiny way, and you just realised none of them are special at all. And it just like in the next movie is all about the. But
they kind of allude to the fact that as she's kicking and that thing's not moving, Leia feels her struggle.
Yeah,
and it's kind of as if Leia does this to the just a little flick to the button so that it gets down to her. Yeah, that's how I read it after I think the second or third viewing. I'm like, does Leia help her get that thing?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. Why not?
See, I've always in my head canon with Leia. Obviously, we know she's Force sensitive,
sure,
but I've always seen her as a more of a bastila from Knights of the Old Republic, where she uses things like battle meditation, and that's why she's such a good general. She's not a good fighter, but she can use the Force to rally the troops and
influence things,
that way, and that's why she's been a good negotiator and a good general, because she uses the Force in a different way. She's not the fighter and the warrior; she's a leader.
And she can handle a blaster too. I mean,
exactly.
She has quite a few notches on her belt as far as dispatching stormtroopers.
Yeah, totally. So we digress. Rose Tycho versus 2 Jedi younglings. We're answering this question.
2 Jedi younglings, mate.
The thing about the younglings is apparently their blades are not as refined as a Jedi.
Really? Okay.
And they're shorter, obviously.
Yep, sure.
So if Rose has her little stun gun,
maybe she'll just try and hug them, won't she?
Mate, well, that's why I'm wondering is she might be kind of like held back by the desire to not kill. Especially their little kids. Like, she's going to be like, oh, I don't want to kill them.
She stunned, just like she stunned Finn. She might be able to, but because they're two, one on either side, I go with the younglings.
Personally, I think you turn up and they'll be doing finger painting and making daisy chains.
Maybe, yeah.
But I'm going Jedi younglings because they've been trained for this. Rose,
not so much.
She just wouldn't want to kill him.
We forget, that she's in the war by kind of circumstance. She's not a soldier.
Look, if she couldn't let Finn crash that speeder and try and take down the First Order, she is not going to stand there and kill two children. I
agree. I think that's going to be, ultimately it's going to come down to stuff like that. The inability to make the really hard decisions is going to be what does her in. I totally agree. I think. And let's be honest, Carlos, you've got kids, right? It doesn't matter how big the sword is. You give those two children, your children, swords, you're going to get hurt.
Perhaps.
Yeah,
perhaps
you're going to get hurt. If not them, I mean, to be honest with you, Rose might win because the kids might take themselves out.
But Rose is actually quite smart because if Finn does end up sacrificing himself, that does not destroy the First Order at all. All it does is incapacitate that cannon.
Yeah, at best.
At best.
Yeah.
So,
it's only a temporary.
Wouldn't you have preferred that if she just knocked him out of the way and he goes, why did you do that? Because you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would have liked her to just go, because it's my turn, and just spin around and just go flying into that cannon. It's my glory.
It stopped a lot of haters.
Maybe, yeah. Really? I don't know. Maybe not.
But, no, we'll never do that.
No. It's the relentless tide of. What was it? What was it?
Discord.
That's the one. Fomenting Discord. Thank you. If that's not a podcast name, then you should definitely start it up. Jedi Younglings. We all agreed.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Cool. 6.5. Darth Maul's bottom half versus Snoke's top half.
Okay, so this is where I need the qualification here.
Okay.
Is it Darth Maul's bottom half that he loses or the robotic bottom half?
I think based on the fact that Snoke is also in half, it's the biological ones.
Okay, so then it's Snoke's top half.
I guess it must be, right? Because surely they just drop on the floor. You drop both in a hangar, he falls down, but he's like, ugh. Whereas
you got legs
just
who's controlling the legs and the
exactly.
And
yeah.
Like at least Snoke has his brain still. Sorry, what?
What'd you say?
False.
Excuse me, what?
What'd you say?
Baking powder? Excuse me?
Sorry?
Again,
Time code.
I'm going to go back to KOTOR here, Rob, right? So we have the Jedi in KOTOR too, don't we, that holds himself together with the Force?
Yes, Nihilus.
So I'm assuming that Maul could probably, in this scenario, his legs are still going.
Yeah.
Whereas Snoke has got to drag himself around.
True.
On two arms.
True.
You saw those jumps and those kicks. He's never going to touch him. He's not quick enough.
You're saying that even without the top half of Maul,
Snoke can lift him up and throw him around the room with the Force.
Yeah, there is that.
Just like he did to.
I love the notion that Darth Maul's bottom half is going to be superior because it does flippy stuff when he's attached to it.
You can find all this great content at Retro Inc, mate. That's deep dive.
Oh, shameless.
At www.
This is by nature of the fact that this is 6.5,
yes.
Following 6 of Rose Tico versus 2 Jedi Younglings. Yep. I think we should move along. I think,
I think, let's be honest, it's Snoke, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be Snoke.
It is. Yeah. Please do feel free to just pick the best ones. Not bloody likely.
Read them all.
Yeah,
read them all.
It's happening. Or comment on any other matchups you think would be interesting. You can go on for ages with these. Return of the Jedi Luke versus Qui-Gon. Finn versus Lando. Why you got to go there,
Finn.
Andrew? Phasma versus Boba. Lefty Windu versus Neb the Jawa.
Wait, what? Since when is Neb a Jawa?
Well, he was the tallest Jawa in all the land. Remember?
Oh, you're right.
Briefly.
You're right. I'm so sorry.
He had a short backstory. He had a short cover story, which was not very convincing for anybody with functioning eyes.
And in case anybody was not aware, Neb is bent backwards.
Yes, indeed, because there was some conjecture about that.
My mind's just been blown.
I know.
Don't mansplain me.
All the best, and thanks for the guaranteed weekly laughs, which get me through my Monday commutes, Andrew. Well, Andrew, I'm sure if you have half as many laughs as we just did, you'll get through your Monday commute with aplomb. So you'll very much enjoy yourself, I'm sure. So, our final question of the week. There was another one, but I'm going to roll it over to when Brad's back because it's aimed at partly at him specifically. So, and I read it to you guys off the air because it irritated me a bit. So it's not going in the show notes until I've had a chance to change the name to mine. So it is time.
Settle down, Josh. Just settle down.
You've been such a Josh. Hey, so Josh.
It's seriously so Josh.
Yeah, such a Josh move. So Josh.
Oh, yeah.
So our next question is obviously we're all familiar with it, but for those for whom this is their first episode, we have something called the Commonwealth Question of the Month. So this is something that the Knights of the Commonwealth, our loyal listeners, especially the ones who are across podcasts, so listen to multiple shows, put together questions, and then they submit it to the entire network, and we all have a good go at answering it to the best of our abilities. So our question this month comes from Rick Villanueva, who writes, "Okay, gang, question of the month time. You get to be a bounty hunter, or merc if general comics are your thing, and you get handed a can't-miss opportunity. Keeping this as positive as possible, good luck. You get to eliminate, no disintegrations, your least favourite character from the Star Wars saga or comic series should you choose to go that route. Sounds easy enough, but the catch is you need to figure out what your particular skill set is, maybe weapons included, how that would help with your mission, and you need to speculate on how that character elimination would affect the overall saga or story. Off the bat, I'm eliminating Jar Jar from contention because reasons. Dig deep, have fun, fellow fans, and may the Force be with you." Rick, just well done, dude. This question is fantastic. It really is. I'm constantly in awe of the quality of questions that the Commonwealth gets across all of our shows in terms of the amount of thought that goes into these things. And this is no exception. So let's break it down first we'll go around and do we'll break this down piece by piece. So, Andy, what is your particular skill set going to be?
Well, I've got my whole thing planned out if you want, but
okay.
Sorry?
Yeah, do it. If you got the whole thing, then go for it. I was going to give us a chance to tease it out, but
would be Dex would be my target.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Okay.
Because out of the whole Star Wars saga, I'm sounding quite negative tonight because I say I don't like a lot of things, but Dex is abhorrent. I don't understand that whole scene. I don't understand the diner, why they're playing American football.
Obi-Wan.
Hello, Dex. I'm Eddie Izzard for some reason.
Yeah, it just doesn't fit for me. So Dex would be my target, and I would pose as a food critic, I think. And I would take him down from the inside slowly to the point of inevitable bankruptcy and suicide.
Okay, and I'm guessing I know the answer to this. What do you feel the effect would be on the overall saga stroke story?
Well, it really screw up the second film, wouldn't it?
I really like the idea of you. So in my head, this is what you're doing. So basically, you're standing over Dex's corpse, and Obi-Wan walks in, and you just turn around and go, "Camino, it's Camino. Go and find Camino." Just working. You basically just plant yourself into the story in a meta way, just to keep the plot moving along. It's just like, just go, leave, and go to Camino. It's there.
His last words were Camino.
Yeah, he said something about Camino. I hope Obi-Wan doesn't come to ask me about bloody Camino again.
Those cloners.
Like,
Yeah, I can't stand him.
I can't either.
Yeah.
It just makes no sense. Why does Obi-Wan get in, sit down, and then stand right back up again?
It's a good question. He doesn't even have lunch. He's a weirdo.
Yeah. You want a cup of Java juice? Like,
what are those droids as well? The service droids in there. It just doesn't. It really just none of that scene rings true to me in a Star Wars fashion. It's the one scene where I am really taken out of Star Wars. I can even deal with the commentator in the pod race. I like Greg Proops, but it doesn't really work in a Star Warsy sense. But it's a bit of fun, that whole scene. It's the grand scene of the whole movie, isn't it? It's what the Phantom Menace is kind of. It's its core, that whole pod race. It's where the story comes from, and it's where it drives from, and that's okay. I can accept that. There's a few bits in that film I don't like, but I love the Phantom Menace. But that scene with Dex it grates. It really grates me.
See, I don't agree at all with the pod race. I really don't like the pod race at all. But I agree with you. It's way better than Dex's Diner.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that meme that I created, Dex's Diner, a Star Wars story.
I did, yes. Yes.
I just did it because it's like how useless.
Yeah.
That whole scene was. It's terrible.
I really love. There's a meme that did the rounds, which is like Obi-Wan just pulls out the saber dart and just goes, "Have you ever seen one of these before?" He's like, "No." Credits.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, I didn't used to like the pod race scene, and I used to dislike Phantom Menace a lot more than I do now.
It does get better with age. Like more viewings.
Totally. And I think maybe it's because of the nostalgia. I mean, me and you, Rob, we're around the same age, aren't we? So I'm assuming we saw the Phantom Menace when it came out. You was probably 16?
Probably a bit younger. 15, 16, something like that.
Yeah, same here. So we saw that. At the time you thought you were an adult, but no, you still had childlike eyes, and you watched that film, and we enjoyed it as kids. Yeah. And then you get to that stage in your 20s, your early 20s, where you go, I don't know why I like that. And then you get older, and you throw caution to the wind and go, damn it, I can like it if I want to.
Yeah.
And and we can look back at it, and there are bits I can't stand when he jumps off the counter and shouts yippee and things like that. Some of the writing in that film is just atrocious. But as a whole, I look back now and I enjoy them. And the pod race to me is just fun.
Yeah.
There's some annoying dialogue in that film, but that's not Jake Lloyd's fault. That's not.
No.
Ewan McGregor's fault. That comes down to one person.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Totally. The G-Man.
Definitely. And I don't mind. I don't mind the pod race itself. It's all the poop around it. Yeah. Exactly. It's exactly that.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Jabba the Hutt falling asleep during the race, it's just stupid.
Yeah.
Just stupid.
Yeah.
But Dex's Diner, worse.
There you go. So, Andy, we'll take out Dex's Diner to the overall detriment of very little. Carlos.
Oh, man. We can go low-hanging fruit here.
Sure.
But it would be difficult for me to eliminate 3PO completely, because he does kind of find a way to move the plot along.
And you have history, don't you? That's canon, right? The story.
Watch your mouth, sir. Watch your mouth.
For those not sure what I'm talking about, feel free to become a patron of the Tumbling Saber and
Patreon.com/Tumbling Saber and
gain access
go to episode 55 of
Sith Disturbers.
Sith Disturbers.
That was a shameless plug. Hey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You all get a go, right?
It's not even my show.
You all get a go, okay? Everybody gets a go. It's fine. You get another one at the end as well.
That's the title of my biography, by the way.
Everybody gets one.
Everyone gets a go.
Oh, right. Okay.
But I think he is by far my least favorite character in all but two of the movies.
Okay.
And I think he actually does a really, really good job in Empire. So I kind of I like 3PO. So I would eliminate 3PO from the beginning of Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
I think at that point I would eliminate 3PO. And I would do it as I'd be a Gamorrean guard.
Okay.
As he gets in and the whole Wanawanga thing happens. R2! That whole thing, and just like I'd pull a Bane. You know how Bane in the Dark Knight Rises just grabs was it Ben Mendelsohn?
Yeah.
By the head and just crushes it. Yeah, that's what I would do to 3PO. I would my skill set is just brute strength and disdain for stupid. Those are my powers.
Who crushes Ben Mendelsohn? I missed
It was Bane.
Bane. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I did. It was one of those weird moments where I heard the beginning and I heard the end, and for some reason my brain went, "You missed the beginning." But I did hear because I remember thinking about Bane and how cool that movie is because I really like that movie.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's probably what I would do. I would eliminate him because he's completely useless after that point.
Mm. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And do you think there would be what the effect do you think that would have? Do you think it would have none?
There would be absolutely no effect as of that point.
Okay.
R2's already in Jabba's palace. He gets to give the message.
Yep. Literally all of his Force Awakens dialogue can be replaced by other characters.
What about when they're on the Forest Moon of Endor and they're all going to be eaten, but they believe that 3PO is a god?
Yeah, that's Luke that does that. That's 3PO has nothing to do with it. He actually makes their job harder. So he could just bugger off.
Bugger off, 3PO. Do away with you.
That was Luke. That had nothing to do with 3PO.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. No, the saga doesn't change after that point.
I'd be interested, like you know how I always say, like when we talk about these things, it'd be nice to go back with that in mind and kind of rewatch the films. That's one I'd like to kind of think about. Is like how impactful 3PO is after Empire, and I get what you mean. There is actually it's mostly for dialogue reasons. And
I'll be honest with you, he's completely useless in Empire as well. He does nothing in Empire. He doesn't. He doesn't save any, but I just don't find
makes a nice accessory for Chewie.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And but he's not annoying. Like he's annoying to the characters in the movie, but the character as a fan watching the movie is like, yeah, it's cool, man. Like I have no problem with 3PO and Empire, none whatsoever. But in Return of the Jedi, oh my god, like immediately grates on me. Immediately.
All right. Now, this is tricky for me because mine is really petty. It is. It's so stupid, but Salacious Crumb has always annoyed me, right?
No.
He's rubbish. He's rubbish.
He is.
He's completely awful.
Why does he even have a name?
Exactly. Just little piece of crap. Like, you could get the same effect with a puppy, and even then it'd be cuter and less annoying.
Didn't you always wish that he bit Jabba's tail when he turned around to look at it?
Yes, I did. And he doesn't. He just looks at it like gawping like he's never seen a tail before. He lives there.
Exactly. Like, bite it. Do something.
And then bolt gun. Just straight through the head.
This makes me sad.
Why? What is it about
him?
Him? Okay, well, that's fine. You're allowed.
I've always liked him.
You're allowed. That's okay.
Oh, nostalgia goggles.
That's my toys. I miss my toys. I had a little Salacious Crumb, and he used to sit on Jabba's throne.
Ah.
And I loved him.
Did I have one? I think I probably passed it up at loads of boot fairs. It was like, get that crap out of here, Dad. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there are probably if I thought about it for longer, there are probably characters who annoy me more, or I feel would be best dispatched. But that was my knee jerk one. Was Salacious Crumb because he sucks.
If I had to dig deeper and not go with the low hanging fruit, I would say Joe Castanew.
Okay. You just had a disdain for librarians as long as I can remember, right?
It's not that. It's she's very, very condescending.
What a reason to want her dead. Manners cost nothing, Jocasta.
Yeah. No, but she's kind of cool in the Vader run.
Yep.
So then it's like, it's not fair.
Yeah,
I think
I know what you mean.
Could have used the Vader run. So it's like, okay, I'll take the condescension from
over nothing at all. Yeah, over like
a little bit.
Yeah.
Can I change mine to Anakin just after he says yippee?
Yeah.
He's just jumping off the counter. You just see from the side of the screen.
Bam, just takes him out.
Credits.
Yeah, that's it. It's done. Millions of people survive.
That's true. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a bunch of new little Jedis running around that didn't get slaughtered.
It's true.
Luke manages to pick up his power converters.
Yeah, he does. This
Not
is true.
really. How was Luke born?
Well, this is
Immaculate conception.
Yeah. It has to happen somewhere.
Again?
Yeah, it has to happen somewhere. Really immaculate. Super immaculate conception. It's the one.
I mean, I think the galaxy would be better off. There's no incest.
They can't just pin that on them two. I'm sure there's
and also,
some incest going on somewhere.
Hang on. Incest implies like Congress, and there's none. They have a kiss.
He thought about it.
I'm sure he did, but you know, obviously they don't explore that in the film, which is probably for the best.
She jams her tongue down his throat. I mean, it's kind of gross.
Yeah.
Well,
and you know that
then he has that. I'm censoring myself here, but he has that grin after, and he lays back.
Yeah, no, I
totally need some exposition.
I
there.
totally
There's
get what you're
definitely
saying.
A screen wipe that infers something, as far as I've said.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I think C3PO stood and watched.
Yeah, just thinking back to that Sith disturbers. What effect does Salacious Crumb's death have on the thing? Nothing, right?
Absolutely nothing.
None whatsoever. It's literally one fewer thing for R2-D2 to shock. That's it.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And C3PO
Butterfly effect. What about if him not doing that?
Maybe
would cause
Maybe they miss the skiff because they get out onto the deck a bit earlier and get knocked off, and just get buried in the sand.
Fires out a lightsaber and it just ends up in the Sarlacc pit.
Maybe, yeah, yeah, could be. Who knows? I'm going to take the risk though because I hate him.
Because
I think a lot less of you now.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, everybody's got their reasons. I'm just trying to. I say I'd have to dig. I realize he says dig deep, but that's as deep as I can go initially. There probably is, on reflection, there probably is somebody more significant that would pop into my head given time, but that's my knee-jerk one is Salacious Crumb. He's always wound me up. Even when I was a kid, I just disliked that character. I think it's because I probably knew a kid at school who was a bit like him. Not in the physical sense, Andy, come on. Not just, I knew this kid at school who was a little brown lizard.
Pointy beak.
Yeah, sat with the fat kid. I know that. Kept watching his tail rather than biting it. Rubbish. Wasted opportunity. Salacious Crumb. That's my final answer. Lock that in. So, Rick, hopefully those answers are, to your satisfaction. So we've actually got a bit of news this week. There's a few bits. Nothing, it's nothing earth-shattering. There's been a lot of Twitter derangement about the lack of title, the lack of trailer, the lack of teaser, all that jazz. Anthony Daniels has been stoking the flames by just teasing.
That's another reason.
Yeah, whatever he's talking about, I have no idea. But he's talking about something coming, but he's made it very clear that it doesn't look like a trailer or a name. So it's like, well, what is it then? Is he even talking about Star Wars at this point? I don't know. It's hard to really know what's going on.
I think he's just trying to be relevant.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is that. He was, we figured that was probably enough that he did that really nice kind of tweet about finishing his last day on episode 9. And there's been a lot of talk about people saying he should, for the sake of kind of symmetry, he should deliver the last line of the entire saga. I could sort of see the appeal of doing that from a kind of, like they say, from a sort of storytelling standpoint. It's a nice way to tie the threads kind of.
Yeah, it's the rhyme and stanza of Star Wars, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, so it would work, I think. But at the same time, I don't think he had the last line in. Who did have the last line in Return of the Jedi? Is it Leia? I don't know. The last line in Return of the Jedi. I feel like he's my brother.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And Han looks perplexed.
Yeah. I don't know if he
music.
Does he reply back to that?
No,
he just gulps at her, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like an idiot.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "That's gross." Like
that's what it is. Video where they intersplice it.
He is thinking
with the kiss.
Yeah.
When she tells him, and staring off into the distance.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
No, that's the last. That's the last line.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Well, I'm trying to think. Just like Obi-Wan and Ghost Yoda appear, and he's just like, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's not like that. Yeah, in fact, I've just looked it up, and in as a quick aside, do you want to know what the other lines, first and last lines of the movies are?
Yes. Oh, I've got them. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So the last, I don't think this counts. According to this, the last line of A New Hope is. I don't think that counts. Although maybe that's racist to me. I don't know. Is that like speciesist? Maybe is there a thing for that?
I think it's Luke, isn't it?
In New Hope, it's Chewbacca.
No, I mean, other than that, that's not really a line, is it?
No, and it depends. I mean, if he's saying, "Where's my damn medal?" then it's a line. If he's just just yelling at the crowd, then I don't think it counts then.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm wondering if it might be one of the texts saying we'll get to work on it right away or something like that. We'll do the best we can.
Yeah, because 3PO says, if any of my circuits, I could donate some of my circuits to help.
Oh, my.
And then Luke says, don't worry about it, or he'll be fine. I'm
sure he'll be fine or something like that. Last line of Empire is short.
See you on Tatooine.
No, it's just, ow.
Ow.
Because he stabs him in the hand to test it out. Again,
really?
Feels like a bit of a tenuous one, that to me. You know? And yeah, so
it is, yeah.
For Jedi, it's not like, oh no, it's not like that at all. He's my brother.
Yeah.
Phantom Menace, last line is Yahoo! In reply to peace.
Yeah, peace is the last word.
Yeah, which is, as Phantom Menace goes, I feel like that's a good word to end on because of the theme of the theme of the movie is all about the seeming restoration of order, when actually it's the beginning of chaos. Yeah. Last line of Attack of the Clones. Victory, you say, Master Obi-Wan.
Begun,
not victory. The shroud of the dark side has fallen. Begun, the Clone War has.
Yes.
It's a good last line.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's fantastic, actually.
Here's some continuity. So actually, the last line in Revenge of the Sith is 3PO. So that ties in, that threads in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my.
It's, oh, no.
Right. It's, oh, no?
Yeah, because
they wipe his...
they've just said they're going to wipe his memory.
Yeah.
Last line of The Force Awakens is Leia, may the Force be with you. To Rey.
Yep.
Rogue One, sound of boiling flesh. Hope, yep. Last Jedi is Leia again. We have everything we need.
I love it.
Yeah. She's actually got quite a lot of... she gets quite a lot of the good last lines.
Yeah.
What's that, 4 films out of 10?
Yeah.
Solo...
Well, she's been in 5, so 4 of those 5 movies, she has the last line. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. No, I suppose, she wouldn't have been she's not in every single one, is she? Does that make sense?
What about Caravan of Courage?
Oh, she's in 6, actually. Because you have the OT, you have Rogue One, and the 2 from the...
2 from there, and then so 6.
So she's been in 6, yeah.
And Holiday Special, and Caravan.
Stop.
So this is probably my favourite one. Han says to Chewie at the end of Solo, "When have I ever steered you wrong?"
Beautiful.
That's great.
Yeah,
that might be my favorite. That might be my favorite last line in out of many films.
You know what I don't like about Solo? It's that stupid shot of the dice before the iris out. Like, that was dumb.
Yeah, they do kind of. Obviously, they've touched on them in Last Jedi, in Force Awakens rather, and Last Jedi. But it just seems.
I don't know. It's like they're there, and then they cut to the dice, and then iris out. It's like I don't know. It felt too clunky for me.
They hang too much on those dice for some reason in the new films with The Last Jedi and Solo. I don't know what they're getting at with them. I understand we all have the previous Legends canon that he won them in the game, and you know that to me is better than him hanging them there because they're good luck. Just, you know, I think it's a bit weird, those dice. I like them, and I like them being there for the continuity, and, you know, we see them on the Falcon, but...
Yeah, I like Luke holding them, Luke holding them, and the whole Kylo picking them up, and then them also being a force projection.
Yeah.
I love that. I just don't, and I love the whole Kira passing them back and forth. But it's just that last shot in Solo that's like, it was unnecessary. I don't know, just a little gripe, I guess, because these are movies I love, but I still, other than Rogue One, I think every single movie has a little bit of something that's like, yeah.
Yeah, you're allowed to have that, mate. I don't think I've ever seen a film where I've gone, that was perfect.
Rogue One. Besides that, yeah, you're right.
Discussion for another day.
Sure.
So we got a little bit of news out of this week. One of the things I'm actually quite glad that you've joined us, Andy, because this is a video game thing, and it's a bit more in your wheelhouse than like some of the, you know, other people in the Commonwealth. No, some of the other Commonwealth members. Brad plays a few, and I play, you know, where I can. So there was a conference, there was a earnings call where a lot of people were expecting the Episode 9 title to be mentioned as part of that. But one of the things Bob Iger talked about, so there's a Variety ran a piece on this. The Walt Disney Company has a good relationship with Electronic Arts and has no interest in returning to video games, something with which it was never able to demonstrate much skill. CEO Bob Iger said in an earnings call Tuesday, "We're good at making movies and television shows and theme parks and cruise ships and the like. We've just never managed to demonstrate much skill on the publishing side of games," Iger said in response to a question about Disney's potential future involvement in video game development. What do you make of There's been a lot of talk about EA and Disney this week because of the earnings call, and because obviously there's been some updates on Battlefront with new heroes and all that sort of stuff. Because obviously Star Wars games are back in the sort of talking, you know, back in the sphere of discussion when it comes to video games. Because up until now it's been quite heavily, you know, Anthem, little bit of hype about Anthem, but everybody's kind of. Because of that, I think everybody is bagging on EA a bit more than usual anyway.
It doesn't take much to bag on EA, mate.
It does not. This is true.
I see this, right. Okay, there was a meme that I saw last week, and it was the games that were released for Star Wars between, I can't remember the years, but this was going back before the license, before the Disney buyout. And there was at least 15 Star Wars games, and I'd say 10 of them were quality games. They were great video games. Yeah. And it says since the license bought from EA, you know, there was 2 games, Battlefront 1, Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
And we have had this, was it the Bounty Hunter one? I can't remember the name of the game that got cancelled.
1313
one. 1313, thank you. And so we had 1313 cancelled. Then we've had this new one by EA just been cancelled as well. We've got Jedi, is it Fallen Order? Coming in next year or the year after.
Oh, it's this year.
Which is this year.
Apparently
which
so, yeah.
Still, is it? I don't know. Who knows? Yeah. We know nothing about it. And let's wait for E3, which is, I think, 4 months away now at this point. So I'm sure we'll hear more there. But I see it as, look at it from Disney's point of view here. They gave the license to someone to essentially the license to print money, which they did. Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2 are not bad games.
No, they're fun.
But they're not what I would expect or what I think Star Wars deserves as a video game franchise. We look back to games And I mean, okay, I'm biased because I'm a Star Wars fan, but Knights of the Old 1 and 2
they're fantastic
are two
games.
of my favourite games ever made, and they are class games. It doesn't matter if you're a Star Wars fan or not. I think if you're an RPG fan and you pick those up,
you can still enjoy them.
Thoroughly enjoy those games. They're rich in lore. They give off a sense of scope and beauty that Star Wars has. They fit the bill perfectly, and I don't think that's something that EA have. EA are a business. They are business first and pleasure second, I believe.
Okay.
A company like EA, they're too big to look at the fun side, the element of the fan base. They look at money, they look at numbers, and they looked at Star Wars and went, what can we make that's going to print us money? We are going to make an online first-person shooter or a third-person shooter, and that's how we're going to run this business. And they wanted a games with service, because games with service is what everything is about now.
Totally.
I mean, look at Respawn just dropped that Apex
out
Legends,
of the blue,
whatever it's called, out of the blue, and this is a game that's 2 million players in the first 24 hours.
It's mad,
and it is mad.
Apparently it's really good as well.
Free game, it probably is, because it's all about battle royales now.
Yeah.
The thing is that they work with that is it's a different world we live in now with video games. We don't have these big sprawling open world first person games bringing in the money unless they're made by the big companies, you know, your Bethesdas and your Obsidians and things like that. They're the ones that make these games, and EA aren't them. EA are, let's make some money. And I will see this contract is up next year, I believe, isn't it, with EA? They won't.
Possibly.
This year, next year, it's soon. And I can see them. Well, I know they are not going to renew that contract.
Okay.
There is no way. Would you give your property to someone that's made you 2 games in 10 years?
I wouldn't, but I would point out that in that time they've also made several mobile games. And obviously we don't enjoy them as much as others, but mobile games, the landscape of mobile gaming has changed immeasurably over the last decade. Like it's a worlds apart from how it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I know you know this, but I think to ignore those games does EA a bit of a disservice. Now I'm not, it's not to kind of excuse some of I agree that they have not been forthcoming with. They could have done they have the resources to output a lot more than they are. And obviously games as service are costly, they are time consuming, and they require a lot of resources, because obviously you have to keep the server, you have to hire people to keep the servers running. You always need those people. They're not just somebody you bring on for the project and then because you need to maintain that infrastructure after the fact. The mobile stuff is, pretty popular from what I can gather, and from what I've played is pretty good too.
I played the puzzle one, a bit like Candy Crush.
Puzzle Droids.
Months. Yeah, Puzzle Droids.
Yeah.
Months I was playing
it's
that.
Fun.
It is fun. But this is where I'm going with it. I don't think EA have done bad. They've just been mismanaged. Whatever's going on is going on at a corporate level that's got all of this wrong. There are developers and designers and programmers out there that have been working blood, sweat and tears and 14, 15-hour days to try and get these games made. Yeah. And these games don't happen overnight. There is a plan that was not put in place 5 years ago that has led them to this point where they are now. A game takes 5 years to make sometimes in some respects. You're going to make a game like KOTOR. They needed to start that 5 years ago before that would be ready for now. Yeah, 100%. And we are coming to the end of the life cycle of this system. I mean, we're probably going to hear, PS5, Xbox, whatever, coming next year after. I think they're certainly, we're going to start hearing about those this year for sure. Yeah, Sony have already said that all their developers they have on now are geared up and working on PlayStation 5 games. There is nothing first party really being made for now, for this current gen. And that's where I see this. Disney are probably looking at this now going, right, we've got EA out of the way. They're going to be gone. And I hope the way that Disney work this is create their own studio but use different developers. They are the publisher and they use different developers and they sell that out, because then you get that nice mix. You get your mobile gaming and you can give those to people that are specifically mobile gaming orientated. Sure. You can sell that license to someone like Respawn to make yourself a perpetual hero shooter MOBA or something like that, that will continue, and Respawn can work with that, and then you can go and take your license and go to Bethesda or a company like that and go, make us KOTOR 3. You can, and sell their license in a different way, because then you can cover all your bases. You can have people working on so many different things, and not only that, you're coming into this next gen life cycle here now. Who's to say negotiations aren't already underway of who's making what?
Oh, totally, because possible.
As much as Disney probably aren't bothered about gaming because it's not their bag, they are a business.
Sure.
And gaming is the most profitable business on the planet.
Yeah, for sure. It's a massive industry.
So to not go there is ridiculous. And I think that's probably why they look at EA and go, you didn't do bad, but you didn't do great. They could have been raking in, billions of dollars through gaming.
Well, we say that. I'm just looking now on the Play Store, and Galaxy of Heroes is the number 3 highest grossing app on Play Store, with 10 million plus downloads. Now, I know from the nature of the industry I work in that only about 1.5% to 2% of players do in-app purchasing. It's not a high percentage, but that percentage is big enough, or lucrative enough, that it's worth putting those mechanics in.
Oh, true. I mean, I'm a massive mobile gamer, mate, and I can tell you I've never bought an in-app purchase.
I've done bits and pieces. If I really like the game, sometimes I will. The ones that spring to mind is with Galaxy of Heroes. They had an intro pack that was like Greedo and some stuff. There was like £4, and I went for that because it was cheaper than usually paying for that, because it was only because I just started playing the game.
I'm just tired. That's all my problem is, mate. If I can get it by grinding, I will get it by grinding.
Yeah, I've got more like that recently, just because I'm finding. I do sometimes find if I don't grind at all, I don't feel like I'm having fun. I need a little bit of grinding in every game.
Yeah, of course. Otherwise, it's just too easy, isn't it? It's the easy
exactly, yeah.
But I mean, if you listen to the most recent podcast we did, you actually hear me talking about how I've fallen out of love with gaming.
Yeah.
Recently, with modern gaming.
Yeah.
I spent most of last week. I have a jailbroken Wii, and I spent most of last week playing Super Star Wars.
Oh, okay, nice.
NES.
It's a good game.
Because to me, that's more fun these days. They are a harder learning curve.
Yes.
I mean, geez, you can't even get through that first level. Trust me. I've tried so many times. Yeah, it
still is.
And I find that more fun. I can pick it up, put it down. And that's why I think I've got more into mobile gaming. Yeah. And I'd like to see, I've got Knights of the Old on my phone.
Same.
Because it's available on Android now.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's great.
But that's what I want to see Disney do. I just wish that they could turn around, and I don't think they'll be renewing that contract with EA. They haven't bought them anything specifically groundbreaking.
Yeah.
And I just hope that going forward they turn around and become a publisher like they have with everything else they do, and they just get decent companies on board to make these games.
Yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying.
It stops pigeonholing you as well, because EA, they're a kind of, not a one-trick pony is to say, but they have a niche.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Niche.
Yeah. The only thing I think that could be worse than a big developer. Like, I can see the appeal of giving the Star Wars license to smaller, hungrier developers, because one of the things I always wanted to see was them give the ability to publish a Star Wars Telltale series.
Yeah.
How good would that have been? To just go completely off the beaten track and take out a character you've never seen before and just put them in the universe somewhere and have them cross paths with Han Solo once.
You don't even need that, mate, do you? I mean, that's the thing. Star Wars is such a rich tapestry. Yeah. It's a universe created where the universe is your oyster, not even the world. And look at KOTOR. I mean, I always go back to that, because not only is it fantastic storytelling, an amazing game, it's some really interesting parts of Star Wars lore. And there is nothing in that game that references anything from Star Wars that we know, or character-wise, because it is thousands of years before anything we've seen.
True.
And it works. It works on so many levels because they capture the magic of Star Wars in video game form. So you're right. I mean, the Telltale series wouldn't even have to have anything to do. You wouldn't even have to mention Vader, which seems to pop up in everything. It's look at, Force Unleashed is slightly different, but you got Starkiller, and that storyline now that could be a film. So why can't those sort of storylines be into more games? Like you say, why can't we get some of this rich tapestry, some of the Legends stuff, and start making it into video games? Then it doesn't affect people. Because I'm not a deep diver like yourselves. I haven't read the comics. I haven't read all the books. I listen to some of the audio books.
Yeah.
I find them quite irritating with all the effects and everything.
I quite like the fact that they build the world, but I get what you mean. The over-reliance on that stuff can be annoying.
It really can be. And I'm not a deep diver like that. I know a lot more about Star Wars than the general public. But there are people out there like myself. I get a little bit over-encumbered with it sometimes where – I listen to you guys weekly and you're saying things. I'm like, I do not know what you're going on about. I haven't read this comic. I haven't read that book. And that happens. And I think sometimes with the film media, it kind of bleeds into that sometimes a little bit.
Yeah.
And with the games, you don't have to. You can do anything you want. You know, look at Force Unleashed 2. It had an alternate storyline. Didn't it? It took the Star Wars story and turned it on its head.
Yeah.
And there's a Starkiller kill Vader. And,
that's one of the endings.
Exactly. It's great. And that's what I want to see more of. That's what I want to see more of. Sorry, you got me chatting.
That's all right. That's fine.
What happens.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's, this is what we're talking about ultimately. This is, let's say, it's once again been another slow news week. Like there's been, lots of people speculating about titles. There was a rumored, leaked one, which I don't think is real. Which was Balance of the Force.
So I've always said Balance of the Force.
I can see it
but
being possible.
I don't think they're going to overuse the word Force.
Yeah.
You couldn't have the Force Awakens.
Yeah,
then, we had The Last Jedi and Revenge of the Sith. And we had Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. But we didn't have that in, we had Last Jedi and Return of the Jedi. They're two separate trilogies.
Exactly. I don't think we have Force Awakens, Balance of the Force.
No.
With The Last Jedi in the middle. It would be something akin to that.
Yeah. But I really like this, actually. This popped up on Twitter because people had noticed that there's a new Star Wars pinball game being released in arcades. And it's called Balance of the Force. Everybody's like, oh my God, that must indicate something. And somebody on Twitter, at Blake Northcott, has said, guys, just because the new Star Wars pinball game is called Balance of the Force doesn't mean Episode 9 will have the same title. If the game had been called A Tilt on Tatooine or Yoda's Multi-Ball Madness, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Who knows?
Do you know what? I would go and watch Episode 9, Yoda's Multi-Ball Madness. I would totally watch that movie. I'd be there day one. I'd be at the midnight showing. I'd probably find a way to see it first.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's been a slow week. I say there's bits about the EA stuff that they're saying holiday 2019 for Fallen Order, or they're now saying potentially fall, which might mean sort of October to December time.
That is, that's that time of year for them, isn't it? But I still don't know if that's coming, mate. I mean, we haven't heard.
No, apparently they're going to be talking about it at E3. There's going to be more to show. And somebody, I forget who it was, but somebody said that they'd seen a 20-minute demo of it running, as in gameplay of it, 20 minutes. So whether that's a demo we might end up getting to play, who knows?
Who knows? I mean, we don't even know what the game is yet.
No.
And my only trepidation with this is the contract's coming to an end.
Yes.
EA probably know that. They're not going to put as much love and attention into this. I think this is probably more contractually, we're going to get it out there, get it done, pay the people.
My hope is that if that's not the case, because I'm not saying it's definitely not, but if it's not the case, it will be because Respawn are very good at what they do.
Yeah.
And I would imagine they are probably massive Star Wars nerds, because you see what they see what they design when given free reign. Titanfall. Yeah. That says to me, big dorks.
There's a good pedigree.
Yeah.
They've got a good pedigree for it.
Yeah.
They're not, it's a strange thing. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and there was the earnings of companies as a ratio, and they were talking about big developers, and believe it or not, Blizzard fell in the medium developers category.
Yeah, because they're just not that
because
they're not big
of
enough.
How many they actually publish. And if you look at that with EA, I mean, okay, if you look at EA as a Star Wars,
yeah. Oh, hang on, might have lost Andy.
Frozen.
I assume so. So we had some technical issues, but we're back. And Andy, so I've got the only bit of blurb that I can find about Fallen Order in front of me here.
Yeah.
Set between the events of Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, Fallen Order puts you in control of a Jedi Padawan who survived Order 66 and is now on the run. No other plot details or gameplay mechanics have been confirmed, but Vince Zampella did announce that you'll be able to use a lightsaber.
To me, it sounds very much akin to Force Unleashed, isn't it? It sounds like a third person hack and slash kind of, adventure game. That's cool, but it's not what I want from a Star Wars game.
No. What would you want from a Star Wars game out of interest?
KOTOR 3.
KOTOR 3, okay, fair enough.
Just let's get back to KOTOR.
You want a big RPG?
I don't even care if it's KOTOR. I just want a big Star Wars RPG. The world is right for it. I mean, look at Skyrim. Can you imagine a game like Skyrim but set in galaxy far, far away, but with the ability to travel between worlds?
Oh, that would be good.
Exactly. I mean, the towns, the planets don't have to be full planets with, sprawling landscapes, but to be able to land, like in KOTOR, you land on one of the planets and there's a spaceport and it's that kind of open world that's got edges. And I'm okay with that. But then let's be honest, going into next gen, there's probably going to be enough processing power to do both of them.
Well, you can do, I mean, they could do that with No Man's Sky, right? They had the entire world. You could go round the perimeter if you were willing to wait for, 2 hours. You could go round the outside of you could go around the whole planet.
But there's design techniques in place, isn't there, where you can create a world that you can't traverse the entirety of, and that's fine. You can put in these hidden walls and no exits anywhere with a circle, very much akin to Dark City. You're just going round and round and you think you're in somewhere else. And it's that's what I want to see from Star Wars. I like original characters. I want to see the Force. I want to be able to level up my character, choose. And that's a very important thing, I think, as well, when you're playing with the Jedi, is to be able to choose your path. And we saw it with the Renegade and Paragon system in Mass Effect. Yeah. And we saw it with KOTOR, where you could choose light and dark side points depending on your actions. And I mean, we're talking a game that is 2 generations old now. I want to see a game that's for the next gen with those systems in place and with the capabilities that the next gen consoles are going to bring. I don't think, in my eyes, as a fan, I don't think that game could be matched. If we're talking Fallout, Skyrim style sized game. Yeah. But with Star Wars, I mean, what more do you want?
No, it's true. It's a fair point. I would quite like them to do another big strategy game. Because they did those in the Lucasfilm, LucasArts era. They did
Galactic Battlegrounds,
reskinned Age of Empires, but good, like a good game. But there was one that I played that I really liked, even though it wasn't very good, which was Rebellion. We had it as Supremacy, and it wasn't very good. But I played a ton of it when I was younger because 1, it was one of the only games I had. And 2, you can only play so much Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri before it gets a bit dull, or at least in a row. So I would break it up with Rebellion, and to the point where I've actually gone out and bought it again in from GOG and from Steam. I've bought the game again and run it where I can, and it was fun, and I'd love to see them go. Now that you've got these kind of engines that can do things like Sins of a Solar Empire and Galactic Civilizations level, can you imagine how much fun that would be with Star Wars planets and aliens and all that jazz? Or EVE, even. Something like EVE Online. Yeah. You could totally... I know Galaxies tried to do that and it was god-awful. Like, that was probably my least favourite Star Wars gaming experience of my entire life was the
I believe there's
hour
still
and
a fan server running.
Oh, probably, yeah. I'm sure. I guarantee. I mean, I can believe totally that it has its niche of people that absolutely swear by it and wouldn't hear a bad word said against it. I just don't understand their mindset at all. No. Because I played it for an hour and a half and I clipped through the world. And this is a game that had been out for 3 years. It's like, this isn't, maybe even longer. There's no excuse for that at that point. It's an online RPG.
Did you ever play the Old Republic?
I did. I went ages without playing it, and then I blitzed for a whole. I spent a whole day just grinding through like the first prologue
Killing
thing.
giant rats.
There was so much story to that game. Like it was enormous. Just the sheer volume of stuff.
That was part of my problem with it, though,
because it overwhelming.
I think, yeah. Well, but when I'm playing a game like that, I want to be my character.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be pushed into decisions or storyline. And the Old Republic, I think, its downfall was it tried to create a narrative for a game that's supposed to be an open world, choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
Look at World of Warcraft. It has an overarching storyline, but you can stay away from that and you can do whatever the hell you want to do in that world.
Totally.
I want to see something, like you say, EVE Online mixed with World of Warcraft, mixed with Skyrim. I mean, that's capable. They are capable of making a game like that.
Yeah.
Flying from planet to planet, controlling a fleet or space battles and landing on a planet like in No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
And doing what you do down on those planets. And if someone could do that with Star Wars, I don't think there'd be a better game that year.
Maybe not. No, and maybe even that decade, if they could get it done. It's a tricky one, you know.
Yeah, it's hard. When you look back with Star Wars games, people always seem to have given it a hard time. But for a start, there are literally thousands of Star Wars video games. I tried to compile a list once of all of them, and it's ridiculous. It's not even possible to try and do that list.
No.
And there is some quality in there. There is, the original Battlefront, phenomenal game.
Yep.
You got the Knights of the Old Republic. You got the Super Star Wars trilogy on the SNES. There's Galactic Battlegrounds, Empire at War. There,
Jedi Knight.
Jedi Knight. Dark Forces. Love that game growing up.
If they did that, if this Fallen Order is like Jedi Knight, where you imagine like a Jedi Knight, but obviously the plot of that was he started off as a kind of mercenary and then he became a Jedi afterwards. If you imagine like you're a Jedi from the start, but there's an actual cost to using the Force in terms of like Assassin's Creed style, it sort of exposes you and you have to make yourself scarce and go back into hiding. Cool. That might work.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's what they've got in mind, who the hell knows?
Yeah.
Because nobody knows.
On that note, you're right. I mean, Assassin's Creed is a good model to even base a bounty hunter game on.
Yeah. That would work.
Change some of the mechanics, obviously, from less stealthy to more action orientated with ranged weapons and things.
Yeah, sure.
It would work. And this is what I mean. We're sitting here and we're just two guys that know nothing about all of this stuff, really. I mean, you stick us in a boardroom with them and they'd laugh us out the door. But we're sitting here coming out with better ideas than EA, a developed publisher, and not only that, a AAA publisher has knocked out in 6 years. We've come out with better ideas in 20 minutes
than they've released in 6 years. Yeah,
yeah,
because they may have had some of these ideas and then looked into them and gone, you know what, this is a ton of money or a ton of work and can't be done or whatever. But
I think as well, and that's the thing. I mean, it's not as even if they've released two separate things in those 6 years. They've released a game and then its sequel, which is just. They're not bad. That's the thing. I think they're bad because I think they're great.
No, sure.
But it's just Battlefront 2 was let's fix the things that were wrong with the first one.
Yes. and they've got a sort of cursory campaign in. That's about it.
And that's it. And I think they themselves have really done a disservice to themselves and to Star Wars with this license over these years. And looking forward, the thing is, the only way is up because there isn't any. Yeah, anything.
It is hard to argue
at the
that.
Bottom.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that they couldn't have done, at the very least, because I try and be as kind of positive as I can, but at the same time, you can't argue that it looks on the face of it like there was very much more opportunities than they took in terms of releasing
stuff. They cancelled more things than they've actually released.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly right. So just that kind of the notion that there's all that potential that's been untapped or, cut short, it's hard to argue with that. And let's say as much as I want to kind of put as nice a kind of sheen on it as possible, it does feel like there was probably an opportunity there to do more than they've done. Now, the important question, let's say that everything you've said is absolutely 100% correct and EA do not get the Star Wars license next time round. where do you want it to go, and where do you see it going?
I want it to go to many different developers.
You want it to be more fragmented and kind of.
Yeah, I want it to be, a free house as opposed to locked in.
Okay.
I want them to be able to give that to people. People come to them with an idea.
Yeah.
And go, this is what we want to do with a Star Wars game. And Disney turn around and go, we will publish that.
Yeah. Okay.
Because Disney can publish and Disney have published.
Sure.
There is no reason why the House of Mouse cannot create a gaming studio. They've got more money than anyone else on this planet, they can do what they want.
They're not scrambling for rent, for sure.
Exactly. I'm sure they've made a few billion already this year, and we're only in February, and they haven't even released anything yet.
No.
But it's one of those where I think I would like them to see them push that out to so many different developers, and those developers being Bungie, because Bungie have just split ways with Microsoft.
Activision,
sorry. So they've just split ways with Activision. Mm-hmm. So they're free to do what they want. And the pedigree of Bungie is, they're an independent studio.
Yeah.
And look at those games that they've been creating for their, their careers. And
Halos and Destinies.
Say for instance, you give Bungie a Star Wars game and they go and make a Clone Wars game of Clone Troopers.
That'd be cool.
That's essentially what a Spartan is, isn't it?
Kind of, yeah.
Reskin a Spartan in Halo, and that's you've got a great game there.
Most of the way there, yeah.
And give them that. Give Respawn a hero shooter game to do, and give Bethesda or Obsidian, give them
big RPG,
an RPG to make. There's so many options there, but when you give it to someone like, say, EA.
Or even just if you exclusivize it, like.
Well, yeah, of course. Even if you give it to Bethesda, we're going to exclusivize. I think so, but
sure.
Even if you give it to Bethesda, all you're going to get for that entirety of that is probably 2 games that are massive sprawling RPGs, and even that I don't want. I want diversity in the Star Wars gaming world because it's a rich tapestry. There's so much to do, and just giving it to one publisher, developer, just obviously doesn't work.
Yeah.
So they need to go back down the old route of selling this out to people.
Mm. Okay,
but having more control themselves.
Yeah. So let's say, so that's I kind of swing with that. I think probably spreading the games out, and like you say, having more of a you come to us with an idea and we'll give you, we'll publish it for you if you're happy to make it, is probably a good way forwards. Now, where would you not want it to go? Let's say it definitely goes away from EA. Where does it go that makes you go, ugh?
Well, that's a hard one because EA is probably the one where I wouldn't want it to be. So leaving there is anything better. But I think it is to anyone exclusively. That is where I don't want it to end up. Because you will screw the pooch. There will be no room. Those studios, for a start, look at EA. They've only got so much in the way of manpower to make this stuff, and they're making other games as well. It's not just Star Wars, and you give that to any other developer, and what do? Do they take all of their workforce off of everything else they're making and go, we're just solely making Star Wars games? No, they don't, because they need to make money somewhere else because they're a business. And I think one of the bad ones would be to give it. I love Bethesda. I will sing their praises all day, every day, because they make the greatest games in my eyes.
Yeah.
Rockstar's another one. You look at them, you got Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption,
LA Noire,
LA Noire. Yeah. These are great games, and they've got their pedigree. And but you give Rockstar the Star Wars license. We're going to have one game this generation or next generation, and then we're going to have to wait 7 years until the next one.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem lies. There's limited resources, limited manpower, and I don't think they'll love to do it necessarily because they don't see the big bucks. I think EA took it on thinking great, and then they suddenly realised, hang on, we're 2 films in and we haven't even started anything yet.
Yeah, yeah.
And, that's where I don't want it to see it go. I don't want it to be stuck on someone's shelf with nothing happening. At the end of the day, if it's not working, give it to independent studios. Let's see what they make, because independent studios have a love for it. They do it, and they're not even getting paid 90% of the time. These small indie...
They're doing it in addition to a full-time job somewhere. Like,
couple of guys sitting in a room making a game because they want to and they love it. And look at the things we get out of that. Cuphead.
That's
you know, it's not my bag, but you can't deny looking at that game. It's beautifully done. It's beautifully illustrated. It's a gorgeous game. And even something like that in Star Wars, why not?
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Go back down the 16-bit route. And bring out Super The Last Jedi. I'd be happy with that. Yeah, exactly. You would, and stick it on mobile devices as well. It'd be ready for everything. I could play it on my Switch.
Yeah, yeah. Like, anything Star Wars I could play on my Switch. Oh, damn! Yeah. I'd be all over that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's where I want.
The one place I wouldn't want to see it go. I wouldn't want to see it go to one of the big two hardware manufacturers exclusively. So I wouldn't want it to be like you only get them on Xbox and you only get them on PlayStation. Like for me, it's got to be Star Wars has got to be everywhere or nowhere.
I don't think Disney are that stupid, mate.
I don't think so. I agree. I don't think so either. But you know,
and if they do, make sure it's on PlayStation, please.
I mean, I've got both, so I'm you know, I don't have a dog in this fight. But yeah, I don't want to see it either. I don't want to see it either way. I don't want to see.
Not a nice thing to call my wife. She just won't let me have an Xbox. All right, I've already got a Switch and a PlayStation.
That's not what I meant. You know this. Now, sir. Yeah, there we go. But that was the big thing this week was like the earnings call.
Yeah.
And there you go. So, I mean, I think the other stuff is kind of piecemeal. So I think we're probably good unless you guys have anything you want to throw into the mix.
I'm good, mate.
Cool. All right, then. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for listening to this episode of Talk Star Wars. We've gone quite deep into games, which is not something we always do. But, you know, when that is the news, that will sometimes happen. So, you know, such is life. And hopefully you've enjoyed it either way. So if you have, and you have come to this for the first time, and you think, I want to get on this, you know, subscribe to this ConveyX, then we are available at all the good we're available at all the good podcasting...
Podcast.
I know. You think I'd know the word by now, right? I do enough of them.
You wrote a damn book.
Assorted Thoughts on Podcasting. Yeah.
First of all, learn how to say podcasting.
Yeah.
Assorted Thoughts on Podcasties.
Yeah. Is it not Assorted Thoughts on Cough Pasties? When you want to be... The audio book coming when I can get a cold for long enough.
Assorted Thoughts on areola pasties.
Areola pasties. We are available on all good podcasting platforms and some of the rubbish ones. So we're available on Spotify, YouTube now on the Emotionally 14 YouTube channel. So I brought that back. Thankfully it's automated, so that saves me a job. Hey. But YouTube, Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts. I think you can get us on Echo if you ask nicely. I think Siri will do it for you now, actually, as well. But that, you know, we're available. Talk Star was available in all good places where you find podcasts and some of the rubbish ones. So feel free to check us out there. If you go to talkstarwars.co.uk, that will take you directly to a page with all the podcast episodes. You can just view it there. Carlos, if people wanted to interact with you on social media, where might they do so between shows?
You could do that at C Candido Music on Twitter and Instagram. You could find me on Facebook at Carlos Candido. Give my music page a like. And if you want to delve in a little deeper, you can go to patreon.com/Carlos Creates. And for as little as $3 a month, you can join our community and you'll get first access to any new music and exclusive videos and, you know, all that fun stuff that happens behind the scenes.
Nice.
So go to Carlos Creates.
Nice. Andy, how about you, social media wise?
I need Adam here. He does all this usually. Retro Inc. Podcast, mate. We're on everything like yourselves, Podbean, iTunes, all the good and bad ones.
Yep.
Find us on Facebook, Retro Inc. Podcast. You can find us on the web, www.retroincpodcast.co.uk. And Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we're there. Search for us and we turn up.
Nice.
There's not many other people called that.
That's true.
So
yeah. Nice. And it's well worth your time, I would say, for sure. You know.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah. Well, you know.
We try. If you want to hit three idiots winding well, two idiots winding another one up, then yeah, that's the show. That's the show for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of how pretty much my business model operates as well. So I sort of get where you're coming from there. So I can be reached on Twitter and Instagram at RobWadeVision. I'm also the man behind the curtain that you should pay no attention to at Emotionally14 and at Talk Star Wars on Twitter and Instagram. Because Emotionally14 is the place where this podcast now lives as of May last year. And you can find blog posts, video series, podcasts, YouTube things, all sorts of geek-friendly stuff on emotionally14.com. That's 14 digits, not letters, because I used to have that domain name and lost it. Emotionally14.com is where the place where all of the other podcasts live, and Talk Star Wars and the video series and the blogs. There's so much stuff, just so much. If you want to support Talk Star Wars on Patreon, you can by visiting patreon.com/TalkStarWars. In exchange for just $1 a month, you get the ad-free version of the show 2 days before release to the general public, all being well. I would be remiss, as always, if I didn't thank Adam Sheldon for his generous allowing of me to use the Star Wars intro, the Talk Star Wars intro and outro music, and you're about to get another mention. So I would also be remiss if I didn't alert you to the wonderful podcasts that make up the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. So in addition to Talk Star Wars, you can also enjoy the Tumbling Saber podcast, the Generation X-Wing podcast, the Nerd Room, the Rogue Squadron podcast, the San Diego Sabres radio podcast, Tatooine Suns, Retro Inc., and the Sandcrawler cast. 9 wonderful podcast providers, all within this wonderful network. And you can find them all on the web at StarWarsCommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world. Thank you very much for listening to Talk Star Wars this week. Thank you to you guys for joining me. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure as always.
And until next time, may the Force be with you.